Sometimes when I have trouble falling asleep, I like to imagine that I'm somewhere in a video game. I've always wanted to make kind of a comprehensive list of all the places I would sleep in video games, but being that there are hundreds of examples though, rather than make one list of all of them, I think maybe it's better to just split it up by franchise, and what better place to start than The Legend of Zelda. I don't really have a lot of rules when it comes to this, like there doesn't have to be a bed there. I could just set up my own bed like Minecraft. I also don't really care about temperature, like there's places in the Fire Temple I would probably sleep. I do tend to prefer quieter places where there aren't a lot of people, but it's nice if there are a few, especially if they wander in and out for a short time. So let's not make a big thing out of this, let's just lay it down. See what I did there? Number 25, Link to the Past, next to the Sanctuary. I don't have a lot of 2D Zelda in this list, which is weird because I firmly believe that leaving things to the imagination is important. This is one of those cases, though, where my imagination did all the work. These little clumps of trees surrounding the sanctuary were as much of a mystery to me as whatever Zora's domain looks like in the Dark World. Number 24, Majora's Mask, Astral Observatory. Majora's Mask, for all of its awesomeness, doesn't exactly have the coziest world. What with the impending doom that looms above the shrooms and is constantly threatening to go boom, but it doesn't mean you can't take comfort in the endless now with places like the Astral Observatory. With its soothing and yet slightly melancholy theme and the bluish-purple lighting, all that's really left to decide is whether you want to sleep upstairs with the old man or down with the Scarecrow. I'd have to go with the Scarecrow myself. Number 23, Twilight Princess Sky Temple Pools. One of the reasons I always liked City in the Sky was the giant pool of water by the entrance. I don't remember if it was supposed to be hot tubs or what. I just know I'd be all too happy to soak and soap and sulk and every other four-letter S word you can imagine. Ugh, well, maybe not that one. The biggest reason this one isn't ranked higher on the list is just that it's too bright. Number 22, Breath of the Wild, Eventide Island. I know I sound crazy now, but think about it. What is the first thing that happens when you get to this island? You are relieved of all your clothes. I can't think of a more sleep-inducing state to be in. I mean, yeah, it's pretty dangerous the first time around, but once you've cleared it out, you got all the privacy and space you could possibly ask for. Except for that bird guy, but whatever, he won't bother you. Number 21, Wind Waker, Wind Temple Canyon. This is one that I've brought up frequently in the past. I don't know what it is about this room. I think maybe it's just because I have this oddly specific memory of being in this room and thinking, yo, this room is kind of big and empty, like my new apartment right now. Or maybe I was curious about this area down here because I always thought there'd be something cool here, even if it was just a joy pendant or something. Number 20, Link's Awakening, The Beach. I'm writing LA Beach here and getting flashbacks to Santa Monica Pier. Do I even need to explain this one? Beaches are just a wonderful place to sleep, and you'll find no shortage of ASMR videos that want to take you there. If you haven't already noticed, I'm a sucker for the sound of running water. Link's Awakening makes a big deal out of this beach. In fact, I think this might be the first ever Zelda cutscene that wasn't at the start or finish of the game. Also, Marin's hair would make a pretty floofy pillow, I'd imagine. Number 19, Ocarina of Time Forest Temple, First Room/Lobby. That's a mouthful. The Forest Temple is my favorite dungeon in any Zelda game, you know that, and the atmosphere starts in the very first room. That is, after you've whacked the howling doggos. This room is a little bit small though, and I don't find the tree branches to be particularly stable places to sleep on, which is why I'm adding /lobby to this. Despite being past the point at which the temple starts to get a little spooky, this room is super spacious, and I imagine that the raised platforms with the pots by the entrance really don't get a lot of traffic. Number 18, Skyward Sword, Sealed Temple. The further I get into this list, the more I realize there's really only so many ways to describe a cozy room, but if any room fits the bill, it's gotta be this one. Being in the forest also means there'll be plenty of crickets to sing you to sleep, but then I guess that also means a lot of other bugs to crawl under the covers. Bugs are not something I usually think about when picking places to sleep though, it's kinda like temperature, you know? I just tend to ignore it. Anyway, this room is nice and dark, and the chances of Impo waking you up with a boombox or a fart are not very high. Number 17, Majora's Mask, Bean Guy's Cave. Is that what I don't know. I don't know what else to call this place. On your way into the Deku Palace, you have to drop down here and this guy's just hanging out here selling his beans like usual. There's nothing really special going on in here, but the grass is nice and soft and it just smacks of click-clock wood. That was my stomach, I don't know if you could hear that. Plus it's underground, and underground areas are always guaranteed to be cool and quiet. Number 16, Breath of the Wild, Shrine Behind Waterfall. I'm so lazy I didn't even look at the name of the shrine, good lord. This shrine is peacefully tucked away behind a waterfall, and there's plenty of room surrounding it to spread out and get your picnic on if you feel the urge. Waterfalls in video games are pretty notorious for always having something behind them. Number 15, Twilight Princess, Telma's Bar. A bit less nature and a bit more technology? I mean, not really, but this is one of the least natural places we've talked about here. There's usually not a lot happening here, and that's what I like about it. The mailman comes by now and then. Any NPC heroes occasionally study a map off to the side. Otherwise, it's pretty quiet. Oh, and there's tons of cats. Number 14, Breath of the Wild, Rito Village. I would have ranked this one higher if not for how crowded it is here, but to be fair, it's not even that crowded. Not like TP Castletown crowded, but it's just enough that it's tricky to find a good spot. I actually kind of like the islands leading up to the village, one of which has a nice pond. That is, if you don't mind fish nibbling on your toes while you're napping. The remix of the Dragon Roost Island theme is also especially relaxing. Number 13, Skyward Sword, That One Island. The idea that you could be in a completely enclosed space with a few thousand gallons of water separating you from the outside world, there's just something cool about it, man. In the real world, you would run out of oxygen, but then it's another one of those things I just ignore, you know, like bugs and temperature. First time I saw this room, I just wanted to slap a tent down and spend the night. Nobody would ever find you in here. Number 12, Twilight Princess, Zora's Domain. This is another one of those where I don't really have a specific spot in mind. There are plenty of waterfalls to hide behind, and cliff faces to lean up against, or you could even go hang out in the fishing hole. I don't remember if that technically counts as part of Zora's Domain, but they both have water. Then again, so does Lake Hylia, and that place is pretty cozy too. So much of Twilight Princess is cozy, even though I would still say Wind Waker is the coziest. You may wonder why we haven't seen much Wind Waker on here. Well, just you wait. Number 11, Ocarina of Time, Death Mountain Trail. Oh boy, here we go with the big ones. I always liked the architecture of this area, how you can see so much and yet still be shielded from the elements by this overhang. You have what may be the most happy and peace-loving race in all of Hyrule hanging around, although I guess they can be a bit on the noisy side. But you could always just play the Song of Storms and drop in here. Number 10, Majora's Mask, Laundry Pool. This is a perfect example of what I mean by a place where there are people, but not too many of them, and most of them are just passing through. I hate that I'm only just remembering that this loudmouth-ass lurks in the area. I was thinking more about the second day when Anju visits, and it rains. And of course you also have the man, hanging out and you know he's keeping an eye on things, always at the ready if someone rings his bell. I hadn't really thought about where in this room I would sleep though, like, not taking into account that this place is called the Laundry Pool, and so the water is probably full of all manner of bodily waste. I still think I'd probably stick to the land on this one. Number 9, Wind Waker, Dragon Roost Wind Tunnel. I told you we'd get back to Wind Waker. On Dragon Roost Island, there is an elevated tunnel that goes clear through the mountain, and for some strange reason, a treasure chest is in there. Aside from loving the sound of running water, which you can't get away from in this game no matter where you go, I also love high places. Sleeping on the 18th floor of a hotel building, man, there is just something about it. And here, we have both. You do have to use the Deku Leaf to actually reach this place, but chances are you won't get a lot of traffic up here. But the ground is flat enough that you should be able to squeeze in 8 hours and not wake up with a twisted back. Number 8, Link to the Past, Under the Bridge. Yeah, this one just kind of goes without saying. The sound of running water, shade, privacy. Having a home is still pretty cool too though. Number 7, Skyward Sword, Inside the Giant Tree. Inside the giant tree, the water dragon resides, and there is no way I would ever pass up sleeping in such an amicable-looking chamber. Is that what you call this place? It's a place. A nice place. It's cool and colorful. It's got that sort of country vibe. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they built a Cracker Barrel in here. Yeah, a few Koroks might come flying in, they won't mess with you. Number 6, Wind Waker, Pawprint Isle. Man, there is nothing better than visiting this island on an overcast, rainy day and just crawling into the tiny crevice in this giant egg-looking thing. You can still hear the rain from inside the enclosure, and you can just nap your ass off with no risk of being found by anyone or being spotted by the Lou. Number 5, Ocarina of Time, Zora River. When I say I'm a sucker for the sound of running water, this is where it started for me right here. I always loved how you never really knew what music was going to play when you came through here. Sometimes the Hyrule Field theme plays, other times all you can hear is just the sound of the river. Just about any spot along the river would be nice, including under the bridge in the middle. But right at the end there's this absolute cornucopia of ledges that intertwine on each other. Between that and the sound of the waterfalls over the entrance to Zora's Domain, I just feel absolutely enveloped, and I could sleep easy any day here. Number 4, Wind Waker, Cabana. You may or may not have the actual deed, but you're always free to take a snooze in one of the lawn chairs outside, or maybe take a swim with one of the floaties. The only thing missing is a bottle of wine, or maybe a bottle of wine being brought to you by this chick. The fact that you were basically given this entire house by your teacher is just icing on the cake, and it feels good, man. Especially since there are no property taxes in Hyrule. Number 3, Twilight Princess Snow Peak Temple. Funny how so many of Twilight Princess's cozy places are indoors. The first time I played this game, I could not believe this was an actual dungeon. It's almost like living the life of a billionaire. From the seclusion, to the sheer size of the mansion, to the resplendent living room with a fireplace, and of course, how can we forget the smell of pumpkin soup wafting in from the next room over? If this isn't a place to sleep, I don't know what is. It's dark, it's private, mostly, and it's warm. You can still watch the snow fall outside. It's like Christmas every day. Number 2, Ocarina of Time Lon Lon Silo. If you don't mind the sound of cows mooing or the inevitable smell of their droppings, you can catch some sweet Z's in the Lon Lon Ranch Silo. Before you even get inside, you can already see there's a piece of heart waiting in there. Or maybe you're playing a randomizer, in which case it's probably a bloopy. Either way, there's no chance of Malon sneaking up on you and seeing you sleeping on the job in here. We all saw how that went with Talon, didn't we? Number 1, Wind Waker Under Granny's House. Oh man, you didn't see this coming, did you? I'm not in a million years, man. There is no combination of words that can say just what a great sleeping spot this is. The fact that there's a chest with 100 rupees down there kind of makes me wonder if Link wasn't already hanging out down here, stashing away any spare change he found. Or maybe it's Granny's stash, which is even worse, I don't know. Protection from the sun and the rain, privacy, people around but they don't necessarily know that you're there. Just life happening, and you can steal away down here and be exempt from it for a while. And of course, anytime you want to go home, you're already there. You can't get much better than that. And so, there we are. Zelda sleep spots ranked. And I'm sure I'm forgetting some, but well, too late now. I'd like to do some more of these with other IPs like Metroid, Mario, Final Fantasy, maybe even Xenoblade at some point. Anyway, I won't keep you any longer. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you on the next one. Sleep tight, y'all.